Need to do is get onto some pita bread, and pita bread is dead easy to make. Get some tepid water, so just warm enough that your finger feels that it's warm but not too hot that it's going to kill some yeast. 1 cup of this, and then 2 teaspoons of our granulated yeast, and just sprinkle that on here. Now this recipe calls for honey, and often when you're making breads it might talk about sugar, but in Greece they love honey, so I love the fact that this pita recipe has honey in it. Give it a little gentle stir. Just need to cover that now so that it kind of stays warm and moist, and I'm waiting for it to go frothy and bubbly, and I can grab my other ingredients. We've got flour here and we've got olive oil, that wonderful ingredient that seems to be drizzled all over Greece. It gives the dough a lovely texture. Let's have a look at that. Oh, that's looking nice and frothy. If it doesn't look like that and it hasn't frothed up, I would be tempted to start again because otherwise your bread might fail. A lot of olive oil in this recipe, which is no surprise given that in Crete they just absolutely love the olive oil. I think that's 6, might have been 7 tablespoons of it. And now I'm adding about 3 cups of flour. Really great to mix this with a knife. I just find with a wooden spoon it just gets all over it and it drives me crazy. Now I can afford to turn that out onto my bench, and at this stage you don't need to flour it necessarily because it's got a little bit of excess flour on the outside. You can see that dust starting to come off. When you are kneading here, resist adding too much flour as you go because we don't want a really dry dough, we want a really beautiful pliable dough, and this one feels really good and sticky. It needs about 5 to 7 minutes of kneading, and really what we're looking for there is that when you press it, it has a spring-back quality to it, and that tells me it's had enough kneading. All that yeast is alive and ready to go in there. Now it needs to rise, so I pop it back in my original bowl, grease it with a little bit of olive oil, and just take your ball of dough, wipe it once along the bottom, turn it over, and you can see that oily covering, and that's just going to keep it nice and moist. Now this needs to rise in a nice warm place, so I've preheated my oven to about 50 degrees. I'm going to switch that off and then leave the door slightly ajar. That's going to take about 30 minutes in there to double in size. It'll take a little bit longer if it's not in such a warm place. Really, we're just looking for that doubling in size.